On the cold morning of February 1st, 1944, an American infantryman lay flat against frozen Italian soil near the town of Sicily. His name was Private First Class Alton Warren Knappenberger. He was 20 years old. Around him, the battlefield was already screaming. German MG-42 machine guns were shredding the open farmland, pinning his platoon to the ground with merciless precision. Every burst sounded like metal tearing the air apart. The distance was close, less than the length of a football field, close enough to see death coming, close enough to feel it passing inches away. Knappenberger held a Browning automatic rifle, the bar, a weapon heavier than most men liked to carry. Fully loaded, it dragged at his arms like an anchor. His uniform was already torn by bullets that had narrowly missed his body. One round had carved into the wooden stock of his rifle instead of his face. For over an hour, he had been trapped in the most exposed position imaginable. While German guns focused their fire in his direction, military doctrine said he should stay low, hug the earth, and wait for orders. He did not. What made this moment extraordinary was not just what he would soon do, but who he was before this day. Alton Knappenberger was not a decorated soldier. He had no confirmed kills, no reputation for heroics. He came from Spring Mount, Pennsylvania, a quiet rural area where his life revolved around factory work and hunting. His father worked long hours. His mother kept the household together. Alton grew up in the woods, tracking deer, learning patience, long before he learned war. Hunting shaped him in ways the army never could. From his teenage years, he learned to sit motionless for hours, reading the land, understanding movement, controlling angles. He learned that elevation meant visibility, and visibility meant control. Ammunition was expensive. You waited for the right moment. One clean shot mattered more than 100 wasted ones. Terrain was not background. It was the battlefield itself. When the draft took him in 1943, Alton did not volunteer for glory. He trained like everyone else, learned the M1 Garand, then was assigned the bar. The army taught him rules. Hunting had taught him judgment. By the time his unit landed in Italy with the 3rd Infantry Division, he was just another quiet soldier known by a nickname, Nappy, blending into the ranks. That anonymity would end in a frozen field near Sicily. As German forces closed in and American lines began to buckle, Alton saw something others did not. A small rise in the land. A bare, exposed mound offering no cover but perfect vision. In that moment, the hunter inside him recognized an opportunity hidden inside extreme danger. And as bullets tore the earth around him, Alton Knappenberger made a decision that would rewrite the rules of survival and turn a single man into the focal point of an entire battlefield. But what happens when you choose to stand where doctrine tells you to disappear? We follow the moment. Alton abandons cover, crawls into open fire, and climbs toward the most dangerous ground in Italy, knowing full well it could cost him his life. The decision formed in Alton Knappenberger's mind with the same quiet certainty he once felt while climbing into a hunting stand back home. 60 yards ahead of him, rising just a few meters above the flat farmland, was a small mound of earth. No trees, no rocks, no protection, just a bare rise in a sea of stubble and frozen dirt. To a trained soldier, it looked like a death sentence. To a hunter, it looked like vision. From where he lay, pressed into a shallow dip that barely concealed his body, Alton could only catch fragments of the enemy's positions. Smoke here, a flicker of muzzle flash there. Sound without clarity, but from the mound, everything would be visible. Every German gun, every movement, every mistake. The price was exposure. Complete exposure. He turned his head toward a nearby soldier and spoke calmly, as if explaining a routine task. He was going to the mound. The response was disbelief. Anyone who moved in that field drew immediate fire. Anyone who stood up died fast. The warning was simple and honest. he would be killed in seconds. Alton answered, just as simply, "If they are shooting at me, they are not shooting at you." He did not ask permission. There was no time. Orders meant nothing when no one could move. Alton began to crawl. The bar dragged through the dirt as he pulled himself forward inch by inch, elbows grinding into frozen soil. Every movement was deliberate, slow enough to avoid attention, fast enough to matter. German machine guns hammered the American positions, still focused on the pinned platoon. For the moment, he was invisible. 10 yards, 20. He passed a fallen American soldier face down in the dirt, blood dark against the pale ground. He did not stop. A burst of fire cracked nearby, dirt leaping into the air just meters away. Alton froze, becoming part of the ground itself. He waited. The firing paused. Reloading. He moved again. At 50 yards, the slope of the mound rose in front of him. The last stretch was the most dangerous. Once he climbed, there would be no hiding. If the Germans looked up, it was over. But they did not. Their attention remained fixed on the larger threat, the platoon. Alton crested the mound and flattened himself at the top. From there, the battlefield opened like a map. He could see everything. The first MG-42 nest was directly ahead, less than 90 yards away. 3 men clustered around the gun behind low sandbags. Another position sat to the left, farther out, partially hidden. A third gun lay to the right, almost invisible except for the barrel. Behind him, 30 American soldiers lay trapped, unable to move. This was no longer chaos. It was geometry. Alton adjusted the bar, set the selector to slow fire, and settled his breathing. He chose the closest gun first. One shot would decide whether this plan worked or ended instantly. He squeezed the trigger. The bar barked. The German gunner collapsed backward. A second burst dropped the assistant. The third man fled. The silence lasted only seconds. The remaining German gun swung toward the mound. The air exploded around him. Bullets snapped past his head. One tore through his sleeve. Another struck the rifle stock, splintering wood. Alton rolled to the side, changing position, refusing to stay still. Hunters knew this rule. Never remain where the enemy expects you. He had announced himself. Now the real fight began. German grenadiers move in to kill him at close range, and Alton faces a brutal truth. He can either waste bullets and die fast, or wait, aim, and survive long enough to change the battle. The Germans reacted quickly. 2 infantrymen broke from the left, moving low and fast, advancing in short bounds. They were experienced troops, not panicked recruits. Each carried grenades meant for one purpose: erase the man on the mound. The distance closed fast, 40 yards, 30-25, from his elevated position. Alton watched them through his sights, heart steady, finger off the trigger. This was where hunting mattered most. In the woods, firing too early meant losing the shot, wounding an animal, instead of dropping it. The same rule applied here. Ammunition was finite. His bar magazine held 20 rounds. He could not afford panic. He waited as the soldiers advanced, confident in their numbers, unaware that every step brought them deeper into a trap of elevation and patience. At 20 yards, Alton fired, a short controlled burst. The first soldier dropped instantly, hit square in the chest. The second raised his arm, grenade already leaving his hand. Alton fired again. The man collapsed, and the grenade exploded harmlessly in the dirt far below the mound. 2 attackers gone in seconds, but the battlefield did not slow down. The second machine gun position to the left continued firing, sweeping the mound with bursts that chipped dirt and stone. Alton switched the bar to a higher rate of fire. This was not about precision now. It was about control. He fired in short bursts, walking the rounds into the sandbags. Tracer rounds arced through the air, marking the path of destruction. One German fell back. Another disappeared behind cover. The gun fell silent. 2 positions down, his magazine ran low. He checked it quickly. Only a few rounds remained. The third MG-42 still fired from the right, farther away, and now movement appeared beyond it. A larger force, 20 or more German infantry, advancing in disciplined formation. They were not charging blindly. They moved in bounds, covering each other. Textbook assault tactics. Their goal was obvious: overrun the mound and finish the job. Alten made another calculation. The distant machine gun could wait. The infantry could not. He opened fire again, selecting exposed targets, firing only when movement demanded it. 1 man fell. Then, another. A third screamed as he collapsed. The advancing line faltered. Soldiers dove for cover, pressed flat into the earth. Every attempt to rise drew another burst from above. From the mound, Alten controlled the entire field like a hunter overlooking a trail. Within minutes, the assault stalled. The Germans pulled back, dragging wounded men with them. The attack had failed. Then the bar went silent. The trigger clicked. Empty. Alten was now alone on an exposed rise, with no ammunition in his weapon. Enemy guns still active, and the certainty that another attack would come. He scanned the ground below, and saw the body of the American soldier he had passed earlier. A rifle, a cartridge belt, a desperate option. If he stayed, he would die when the next wave came. If he moved, he would be fully exposed. He chose to move. Bullets chased him as he crawled down the mound, explosions throwing dirt into his face. He reached the fallen soldier and discovered the cruel truth. The ammunition did not fit his weapon. Same rounds, different feeding system. Under fire, hands shaking. Alten began stripping cartridges and loading them by hand into an empty bar magazine. Every second felt stolen from death, with improvised ammunition and enemy pressure mounting. Alten returns to the mound for the longest 2 hours of his life, facing wave after wave, with nothing but discipline and nerve. Alten crawled back up the mound, with a partially filled magazine and loose rounds stuffed into his pockets. There was no relief waiting for him. No backup. Just the same exposed rise, and the same open field that had already tried to kill him. He flattened himself at the top, reloaded, and scanned the horizon again. The Germans had not disappeared. They were regrouping. For the next 2 hours, time lost its meaning. German infantry tested his position repeatedly. Small groups first, probing for weakness. Then larger elements, advancing cautiously, hoping his fire would fade. Every time a helmet appeared above the ground, Alten answered with short, punishing bursts. He never stayed in one spot for long. A few feet left, a roll to the right. Constant motion. German gunners fired at where he had been, not where he was. The mound became a deadly illusion. The third machine gun finally went silent. Whether the crew fled or fell, no one recorded. What mattered was that its fire stopped. Still, the danger did not end. Alten reloaded again and again, manually feeding cartridges stripped from rifle clips. Each reload took minutes. Each minute felt like an eternity. His barrel burned hot. His shoulders screamed with fatigue. His mouth tasted of dirt and powder, but he did not leave. Below him, the American platoon remained pinned, watching in disbelief as one man absorbed the enemy's focus. German fire that should have torn through 30 men was concentrated on a single rise in the field. That choice saved lives, even if no one could yet move to acknowledge it. Around 1400 hours, the pressure finally eased. The enemy fire slackened. The ground fell quiet in uneasy fragments. American soldiers began to shift, then move. Some advanced carefully, others pulled back with the wounded. A voice called up to the mound, ordering Alten to come down. He fired his last rounds and descended. When he walked back toward his unit, no one spoke. His uniform was torn in multiple places. The rifle stock was splintered. yet his body was untouched. A medic checked him twice, unable to believe it. No wounds, not even a cut. Days later, officers returned to the field and counted the results. German bodies lay scattered across the approaches to the mound and near the machine gun positions. Others had been dragged away. The estimate settled around 60 enemy casualties, dead or wounded, all traced back to one exposed position. The army called him a one-man force. A recommendation followed swiftly, but Elton himself said little. He had done what the terrain demanded, not what the manual prescribed. We follow what happened after the guns fell silent, how the army remembered the act, and why a quiet hunter returned home carrying a legacy far heavier than any rifle. The recognition came quickly, but it never seemed to belong to Alton Knappenberger. In his own mind, the official reports described an exposed rise, enemy fire passing inches from his body, and a lone soldier holding back repeated attacks for more than 2 hours. Commanders called it extraordinary. Historians later called it legendary. Alton simply returned to his unit and carried on. The fighting around Anzio did not end that day. Weeks of brutal combat followed as Allied forces struggled to break out of the beachhead. Alton stayed with the 3rd Infantry Division through it all, performing his duties without fanfare. When the breakout finally succeeded and Rome was liberated, the war moved forward. But the story of the mound had already traveled upward through command channels. In May of 1944, Alton was awarded the Medal of Honor. The citation spoke of initiative, courage, and endurance beyond expectation. It mentioned crawling under fire to recover ammunition, maintaining a position no one else could hold, and stopping an attack that threatened the entire line. What it did not capture was the quiet logic behind it all. The hunter's understanding of terrain, the patience to wait, the refusal to panic. After the ceremony, Alton was sent back to the United States, as many recipients were. He appeared briefly at war bond events, standing awkwardly under bright lights, repeating a story he never felt comfortable telling. Once the war ended, he returned to Pennsylvania and disappeared back into ordinary life. He worked as a truck driver. Later, he supervised road crews laying asphalt under open skies. He married, raised a family, and taught his children and grandchildren how to fish and hunt. The same lessons he had learned as a boy: read the land, stay patient, do not waste what you have. Those close to him knew about the medal. Most people never did. He did not correct them. When Alton passed away in 2008, he was buried with full military honors. His headstone was simple: name, rank, Medal of Honor. No mention of 60 enemies. No mention of the mound. Somewhere near the field still exists, flat and unremarkable, with a small rise that most people would walk past without a second glance. On one winter day in 1944, that rise became the most dangerous place for miles around. A place where doctrine failed and instinct prevailed, where a young man trusted the lessons of the woods over the rules of a manual. He did not seek glory. He sought control of the field, and by doing so, he saved the men who could not move. History is shaped by people like Alton Knappenberger, quiet individuals who made impossible choices. Subscribe now to make sure these stories are never forgotten.